That's a shameless plug right there, man. Like, I love how Gabe has this shit at the bottom of the screen that has like professionally made like Gabe's Infinity Watch, and I'm like holding this cardboard cutout. Old school, dude.
I need to get the little wrap thingy because Jess has that on his too.
Oh, does he?
Little,
okay.
I mean, I've seen him with it. I guess since he's using the.
I don't have it on my.
Dog mask is so much. Dog mask is so much more iconic, though. Everybody knows who the OmniDog is.
Well, we are live, guys. So let's
awesome.
Let's go ahead and get going. So, hey everybody, welcome to another installment of the Omnibros live show. This week we are talking about Justice League. There's a movie coming out pretty soon, isn't there? Is that this weekend? Or?
Yes, this weekend.
Wow, it's already this weekend. Jeez.
Yeah, it's already this week. Actually, it's tonight. Tonight is the premiere across America.
Has the review embargo been lifted yet?
Yeah.
No, but apparently it's been leaked. Well, at least Rotten Tomatoes stuff has been leaked. How long are you going to wear that mask? Just
until I'm introduced.
Oh well, let's
keep him going. It's so creepy. It's so creepy.
It's like a Michael Myers type thing, just wearing the mask. But
joining me, eyes wide shut.
Joining me tonight, I've got Jess, the OmniDog brag here.
Heyo.
You gonna hit him with a hind tonight?
Hit him with the hind, boys.
And then of course I've got Omar from Near Mint Condition. He was waving around his sign a little bit ago.
My shameless plug. Yeah, man.
What's the name of your channel again? There? Oh, Near Mint Condition.
Yeah, I'll plug it in every once in a while when you guys are talking. Thanks again, guys, for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. It's always awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
But yeah, so Justice League, I guess I wasn't even aware that it came out this weekend, honestly. I thought it was a little bit later in the month. But that's a pretty big deal. It's the first big screen Justice League film, right? There's
Crazy
not been any.
Waited so long.
I was trying to think if there's been any animated films that went to theaters, but I don't think there has.
I think the only ones that did were like Batman the Animated Series, was like the Mask of the Phantasm. I took a girl on a date to go see Mask of the Phantasm.
I think I went with my mom.
You went with your mom?
I was pretty young, I think. When did that come out?
Yeah, I was in high school, so that was 92, I think. 92 when Mask of the Phantasm. I'm almost 100% sure.
Did that girl ever talk to you again?
I think the animated series started in 92.
No,
it says 93 on IMDb.
93. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to argue with IMDb.
So really close. I mean, you're pretty much on the money.
Yeah, a year off. You know, if the price was right, I'd be there.
But yeah, I remember my mom or dad taking me to see that, and I thought it was amazing back then. It still is amazing. But Justice League, are either of you guys looking forward to seeing this movie?
I am.
I'm not gonna lie. I go into these movies with like a clean slate. I don't judge. I try not even. Oh Jesus Christ! Even Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, I went in going, you know what? Let's see what this is like, because I saw the previews and the trailers, and man, and I went into Batman versus Superman the same way. There were like 5 people I didn't want to play Batman, and Ben Affleck was on that list.
Dang.
And it wasn't even Ben Affleck. My problem wasn't with Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck killed it, I thought. He was a badass Batman. Like a bad, big freaking Batman. I thought he did an amazing job. My problem was with just about everything else. Now, I haven't seen the director's cut, but I've heard the director's cut is a lot better. So I'm going in, my girls will go watch it with me. They're excited to go see it. So it's crazy that we live in a world where, like, I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy makes more money than will make more money than the Justice League. It makes no sense. It makes no sense, right?
Doesn't.
Because there are kids all over this world that know the characters of Superman and Batman. They don't even have televisions.
Right.
They know Batman and Superman. They don't know who Rocket Raccoon or Star-Lord is. But for some reason, It seems like Guardians of the Galaxy, well, it made a lot more money than Batman versus Superman. So I guess we'll see. I hope Justice League, does well.
Well, it's in my best interest if it does well, because that means it's a good movie.
Of course.
And I think everybody's expectations are so low for this movie. It just has to be reasonably good for it to be a hit. So I'm not expecting Wonder Woman type movie, but I expect it to be better than Batman versus Superman and Suicide Squad. So, and I happen to like Man of Steel. So if I know some people didn't, that's fine. But if it can be, a little bit better than Man of Steel, then I think it'll be good. I like anything with Wonder Woman in it. I think that she was the best part of Batman versus Superman.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, I'm looking forward to this. And I'm not one of those people that hopes it's bad. I don't know who those people are. I don't have high expectations though, so it's going to be hard to disappoint me with this, because I've been reading that everybody's surprised at it, that it's decent. So if it's decent, I'm happy.
I'm just gonna be waiting for DVD or Blu-ray either way.
Well, here's the thing too, is like when people are like, and there's nothing wrong with that statement, Jess, but after waiting so many years, is decent what we deserve as fans? Shouldn't we deserve a little more? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like, Avengers set the bar high as far as like team movies, right? Like team up movies. Like, and it was, and it's unfair to compare it to Avengers, because Avengers took years for it to come together. So it's gonna be hard for Justice League to. Damn, dude, I'd settle for just a good movie, not an outstanding movie. I'd settle for.
Yeah, no, you're right. I want just a good movie. That's what I want.
But I guess we'll see. We'll see. I don't know.
But either way the movie goes, good or bad, there's always good comics.
That's right.
And that's what we're here to talk about mostly, is the comics. And I think each of us has read at least a decent amount of Justice League, so we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I don't know where y'all want to start. If there's any particular run that either of y'all want to just dive right into.
Actually, I wanted to go back to your statement. You're not going to go see the movie in the theaters, Rye? I
will not, unless it's like just professedly outstanding. Like,
okay.
I was very tepid for Wonder Woman until the Wonder Woman reviews started coming out, and I was like, okay, it's that positive reaction that made me say it might be worth my time and my money to go out to go see it. Because I have very limited free time, and I spend most of my money on comics, so I don't like to misstep. And I do use reviews as a kind of a way to tell if there's going to be a chance that I'll wind up thinking it was worth my time and money. And these kind of middling reviews, these kind of lukewarm reviews that Justice League might get is not enough to draw my attention to think it's going to be worth my time and money. And that's nothing against anyone who's like gung-ho and going to see it and excited about it, because I mean, fuck, like I was super excited to go watch Batman and Robin and Batman Forever when I was a kid, and that, I mean, those movies are awful, they're messes, but I still love them.
Bat nipples, man.
Yeah, man, that's classic. That's a staple now, is bat nipples. They're iconic. But yeah, so unless something just out of left field comes out and they're like, this movie is fucking amazing, I'm gonna be like, all right, I'll go see it. But honestly, also because the next 2 weekends, I'm tomorrow night or Saturday morning, I'm leaving for Houston, and I'm gonna be in Houston for 9 days, because my friend is getting married this Saturday, and then my sister's getting married next Saturday. So I've got kind of that whole week planned out. So probably won't wind up seeing it until it winds up hitting the cheaper theaters anyway, if I was to go to the theaters.
And how many days until you hit Bedrock Comics? Is that one of your
Man,
first
I don't know.
stops?
I might wind up because I think I'm gonna hang out with Robbie. I don't know if you know Robbie on the group.
I do, yeah.
So Robbie and I, we're good friends. We go back like years back. We actually met at Bedrock, and so I might wind up going with him one of these days that I'm out there because I know I'm gonna hang out with him and another old friend of mine, Chris. But I've got so much lined up. Like I have to go hang out with another friend of mine. Who I wasn't supposed to know, but is having a baby. I wasn't supposed to know that, but I do. And so I'm going to see him, and he's probably going to give me that revelation. And I have to pretend like I'm surprised.
Pretend to be surprised.
But my joy is my joy will be the same. I'll still be happy for him. But yeah, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, a baby. I had no idea. So I have a lot of people that I have to see, plus Thanksgiving and all that stuff. So I'm probably not going to do either show next week just because of how busy I'm going to be. But hopefully I'll get a lot of reading in because usually when I'm out of town, before I go to bed and after I wake up, I usually sit around for a couple hours. And just, yeah, a huge vacation. Gotta sit around for a couple hours and just read. Catch up on stuff, so I'm looking forward to having that time.
I have to agree. That's my favorite time of my favorite thing about the holidays is taking a couple of weeks off of work and just chilling and reading the books that I haven't gotten around to reading. Like everybody else, I'm sure has a huge stack of books I need to catch up on. But it seems like I get that ADD, like, oh, a new book. As I start reading it, forgetting about this giant stack of books I got from like previous months. So it'd be nice.
No, for sure. I'm also excited because I only had to use 4 of my paid time off days for this like 9-day vacation.
4 for 9, man. You can't beat that. That's good.
Can't beat it, man. Can't beat it.
Score.
But Justice League, what comics? I mean, I've read a few really good Justice League comics, in my opinion. The ones for me that stood out were I really loved Morrison's Gio-A. I thought that Justice League International, the half or so that I read, was fantastic. And I've read a few other things, but what about you guys?
Is the Justice League International, was that the Bwahaha era?
Yes, that's the one that just came out in the Omnibus. Yes, that one.
Right, that one.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I was recommending to read. So I was doing a video on like must-read Justice League graphic novels. Because a couple of years ago, I went back and reread them from... See, the thing with me, I know this might sound blasphemous, I've never been that big of a DC Golden Age and Silver Age fan. Mm-hmm. So going back and like I have tried several times, like reading a lot of Golden Age and Silver Age Batman and Superman and even the Justice League. They had like it was one of the omnibuses that came out. It was like a Golden Age omnibus, but whatever. I tried it and it just wasn't for me. So I decided a long time ago that I think after Crisis on Infinite Earths is where my DC kind of began. So I went back and started from, like in chronological order, from JLI all the way up to whatever 2 years ago was. I think New 52 stuff. So it was a lot of fun. Uninterrupted, right? Like I read nothing else but that kind of stuff. It's usually what I like doing. Like I like doing the same thing with X-Men and Flash.
I want to ask, because this is a book that's coming out soon, the Detroit era omnibus.
So that's before Crisis on Infinite Earths, but it's also Oh,
I didn't know that.
But it's also people really seem to like that one. I've never read it.
Okay.
So I'm kind of interested in it, but it's kind of holding me back because I also don't. I didn't like previous books around that time. So, but I don't know how that one was written. So.
Yeah, I know nothing about that era. Bronze Age, sort of JLA is not something that I paid attention to. If that's considered the Bronze Age before Crisis, I don't know.
Whatever age that is.
Whatever age that is, it wasn't a part of me. And I totally get what you're saying about the Silver Age and Golden Age. That's an acquired taste. Mm-hmm. But that's what I grew up with, so that's the kind of stuff I like.
So, do you remember Justice League stories from that time that kind of stand out? Because, like, I never read any, really.
What I always liked were the Crisis on...
Oh, the crossovers?
Yeah, the crossovers with like the Justice Society and
I've read those
and all these different...
Those trades.
Multiple Earths ones, yeah. I always liked those. Those were kind of the standout stories because Silver Age Justice League, the first thing the criminal or criminals would always do is take out Superman somehow with like magic or kryptonite handcuffs or something. And that's the first thing every issue would start with, getting Superman out of the picture so they could deal with all the other Justice Leaguers. I don't, and so that was always the formula of the story. And that's why I like the crossovers, because Superman could take part in those. And sometimes they would bring in Earth 2 Superman also. So that's why I dug those back then. But there's no Watchmen of Justice League back in the 60s. You know, there's no cultural touchstone for the Justice League back then. I agree the modern era is much better for Justice League than it was, as much as I love Silver Age.
And it's weird, right? Because Marvel always had team books like the Avengers and the X-Men and things like that. So I figured DC would have had the equivalent. I mean, they did sort of, right, with like New Teen Titans with George Perez and Wolfman. But I figured they would have borrowed some of the formula that initially Marvel borrowed from them.
Right.
So yeah, I talked a little bit about this. Like I love this era. This is the era that I jumped in, and everybody kind of compare. And Riley, you've read some of this, right? And I assume you have too, Jess. The J.M. DeMatteis and Keith Giffen.
I have not. I hated that era.
You did?
But you're totally entitled to love it. That's fine with me. Tell me why I should love it.
Well, I don't. Maybe you should give it. Maybe you should give it another chance. I think this is the first time I've seen writers take like C-list characters and put them in a big team book, right? Like we see that formula now with X Factor. We kind of see it with Bendis' Avengers, or to an extent like DNA's Guardians of the Galaxy. But this is the first time I remember seeing it as a kid, and I'm like, man, I don't give a shit about Blue Beetle because he's not even a DC character. He's a Charlton character, or Captain Atom, right? I'm like, what? No. So when J.M. DeMatteis and Keith Giffen got together, and it's got the first opening page is Guy Gardner just sitting back and around the round table, the Justice League, with his feet propped up. It's like, man, that guy's a douchebag. But by the end of the issue, I was like, okay, this is going somewhere. This is cool. And and as I read the trade paperbacks, I'm like, man, I actually started caring about Fire, Ice, all these characters that I didn't give a shit about before. And it was the writing that made me do it. Because a lot of people throw this off as like a comedic kind of book, but it has a lot more heart than that. I think it's a lot deeper than people.
That's what I hear a lot about
now, you have
heart
to,
of the book.
Yeah, you have to, because there's a lot of chemistry between the characters, right? This is where the hijinks of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle began. And And I love the fact that they also threw Batman in there just because they were like, well, we're not gonna lose sales, we gotta keep at least one cool character in there.
I think he was like the only A-lister that they were able to use. Like everyone else was busy or incapacitated or something, if I'm remembering correctly. And Batman was the only one that basically they got permission to put him onto the team, and it did help to drive the sales a little bit.
Yeah, but then before you knew it, it wasn't about Batman. It was about all the characters you didn't care about. So it was great.
Exactly.
I love that era. I thought it was awesome. I'm really surprised we got an omnibus. I can't wait till the second omnibus. I can't wait until they collect it. Man, with me, I wish everything was released in omnibus format. So
right, and it's super cool because that era, like, they released those paperbacks and then they did 6 volumes and they stopped. And that, if I recall, doesn't even reach the halfway mark of that run.
No, it doesn't.
Because there's a lot of, like, they did the Justice League International, Justice League Europe. Mm-hmm. Justice League America. There was a bunch of issues that tied in, and then they had a big crossover at the end. I haven't read all of this, but I know the way that it flowed. And those 6 volumes, I bought them all years ago, and I just digested them so quickly. And then I even went and tracked down other stuff that's by the same team, like the Can't Believe It's Not Justice League or whatever it is. And it was just so fun because it's like you said, like, it's a bunch of characters that I never really cared about before. Like, and I actually did care about Guy Gardner before then, so I was excited to be like, oh, cool, a book with Guy Gardner. and he's an asshole, just like, you know, I remember. And then I had wanted to read, because I'd seen a lot of people talking about Booster and Blue Beetle, and I was like, okay, I really want to see where they come in. And I had also been intrigued because I wanted to know more about Max Lord, and just knowing him from like more recent events, I wanted to see what he had come from before. So it was really fun to read that era, and like you said, I'm really excited to see them continue to collect it, because it'll be the first time that it's ever been collected. Like most of this run, I'm presuming across 3 volumes, it's never been, you know, majority of that has never been collected before.
I hope so. I hope the DC's trade, or the trade paperback department or the collection department has their act together, and I hope they map it out correctly, and I hope they keep going with it. You know, they can go all the way to. Yeah, I love that. I love that book too.
Formerly known as the Justice League, and then the I can't believe it's not the Justice League.
That's the name of it?
Those are the names of these books.
Those are the follow-ups. Those didn't come out until what, 2000 and
way later,
2006. You know, another one that I love that I
Yeah.
don't see in a lot of people's list is this one. This is Judd
that
Winnick,
yeah, that one was great.
and with Keith Giffen. And
Yeah.
this is after Brightest Day spinoff, but it's got, it's about Maxwell Lord, and I love this book. I think this is great, and this is I think it's drawn by Aaron Lepesti. Yeah,
Yeah, there was a lot of great artwork in there. There was one issue in particular that focused on Captain Atom.
Awesome. Yeah,
I don't know if you know. It was like
one of the stories
Captain Atom.
with Captain Atom, and it was the second volume, I think. Yeah, because
I remember the stuff. Didn't that kind of like culminate in him against Magog?
Yeah, that was one of the storylines in there. But I really like that run, and Generation Lost doesn't get a lot of love because it was just one of those books that kind of came under the radar. It was right before New 52, and then when New 52 started, it was kind of over and done with, even though I think it could have gone a little bit longer. But I guess New 52 overruled that, so I was sad to see it go. I think it only lasted 24 issues, if I'm not mistaken.
It was because it was a bi-weekly that was coming out opposite weeks of Brightest Day.
Yeah.
So I think it was like 24 or 26 total. But it was good. I never got around to actually buying the hardcovers. I had it in singles from when it first came out, and it was cool because a lot of those characters, again, there's still B-listers, and you really didn't see much of them. And so it was cool to see those characters back together again.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Jess, you didn't like Justice League International. What did you like?
Speaking of New 52, I will go on record as saying I loved Jeff Johns' New 52. I just picked the beginning, middle, and end books. I already saw that it got slammed in the chat. Before I even talked about it, the Justice League Johns run. Because it was right at the beginning of New 52. I love the part where Green Lantern discovers Batman, and he says, "You're real?" And Batman says, "And you're too damn bright." And the cops are after him, and they're talking about the alien in Metropolis. I just love this book because I love New 50. I happen to be a New 52 apologist because I love that they wiped the slate clean and started over with like just gaining his powers Batman. Gaining his powers Superman, and Batman was brand new, and the Court of Owls and that kind of stuff. But Justice League, to me, I loved how they reintroduced the characters. This Origins book, I just loved it because I thought it was great that they took a world where they weren't established characters already and reintroduced them to not only the world but to each other. And I loved the beginning of this book because of that, where they introduced these guys to each other, and it's a coming together of all their personalities and their powers and their various cities and stuff that they defended, and Green Lantern saying, I defend the whole space sector and not just Coast City and stuff like that. And then the middle part I thought was good too. I loved the whole run, beginning, middle, and end. I didn't particularly care for Trinity War, but then when Forever Evil started, this is book 5 in the little tiny standard size book. I thought Forever Evil was a really cool concept that I had kind of seen before in Silver Age Justice League, where they had this, I think these guys were from Earth 3 or something, the crime syndicate. I think that's where they originated. And I love this part where the evil guys actually won at first, had Earth under their power. I don't remember now. I think maybe they inserted a kryptonite shrapnel into Superman's brain or something and depowered him, once again taking Superman out of the picture. But I love the Forever Evil storyline, and so that was like the middle run of New 52. And then the best part of New 52 was Darkseid War, the last part. This is book 8, so it's Darkseid War part 2. They just came out with an omnibus of Darkseid War called Darkseid War Saga Omnibus Tale of the Justice League Origin, some big long name that was ridiculous. But this is where they actually get new god powers. And that was such a great twist and so well told. And Batman getting Orion's chair was, to me, just freaking great when he discovers, things about the Joker. And I just thought Darkseid War was fantastic. And the art is great throughout these books. And I dug everything about it. The only thing I'm not digging about New 52 is they had Origin come out in an absolute, so you got the beginning. Then they had the ending, Darkseid War, come out in an omnibus. So you got 2 different formats there already, and so the middle hasn't been collected. My question is, why not just make the whole run either an absolute or the whole run an omnibus? Why you got to mess with me and give it an absolute and a nothing in the middle and then an omnibus? I think
I can answer. I don't work for DC, but I may be able to answer that. Fanboys,
go for it.
Fanboys, because they know we'll buy that shit up. You put an absolute of Jim Lee's artwork in something. Yeah,
okay.
Buy that shit. I'm gonna buy fucking Wildcats. I don't even know what the hell Wildcats was about. But I bought every single Wildcats when Jim Lee was on and I was collecting comics at the time. I don't know what the hell the story is about, but I love that man's artwork. Origin, I think it's the one that's one that I put on my list that as a must read, because I think that is probably the best starting point for someone that doesn't know anything about Justice League or anything about DC comic books. Because normally I can't believe I recommended that over Year One by Mark Waid, because Year One was awesome. But I think this one is a lot closer to what the movie is. So if you like the movie and if you like the TV show, I think Origin is probably more what you would expect out of a comic book. And it's got Darkseid bringing the team together, so and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say it does well not only introduce your main players on the league, but their biggest villain all in one place.
Right. And I was gonna highlight. I know we're just getting started, but I was gonna highlight Year One by Mark Waid. It won't surprise Omar to know that I couldn't find it. I know I own it. It's somewhere here, but I couldn't find it. I have a very.
I was making my video yesterday. Must read Justice League books. I couldn't find mine either, and I have the original trade paperback. I haven't bought the deluxe edition, and I'm like, where the hell is this book? And I thought maybe my dumbass gave it away to somebody in the hopes of buying the deluxe edition, which is what I do a lot of the time. So I probably think that's what happened, and I need to go and get the deluxe edition.
See, mine's not even.
Fanboy, see?
Mine. I mean, we went through this last week with Nightwing, or on Monday with Nightwing, whenever we did, and I couldn't find Nightwing, and it was like in a different place. but I don't even have. I mean, I have a Justice League shelf, so it should be like right on the Justice League shelf, and I can't find it. It's somewhere in this room, and it's not like I live in the Library of Congress and it's been misshelved. I mean, it's got to be in here somewhere, and it doesn't make any sense where it is because it should be on that shelf. But I loved that book. I thought it was a great book.
I think it's a good starting off point, but I think Origin is probably a better starting off point.
Right,
As far as,
I agree.
Art and the way that the story is done, because I love how they put, all these characters have these giant egos, right? Green Lantern,
right.
Batman, and then they have to put that aside to come together and fight Darkseid. So I thought that was really cool, a really cool way of reintroducing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a good starting point now because it is the most modern origin for them, and that's good for people who are trying to get into comics now because it reads like something that they would be reading, like brand new things,
Right.
I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what you said, Omar, about this is probably the closest that movie's going to be like, but it also it harkens back to last week when we were talking about Bendis, and that his books they're easy to read, and that's why people will read a lot of Bendis stuff because it's an easy read. It's easy to pick up. It's easy to get through. It's easy to get to the end and put it down, and it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the run as a whole, I read that whole run. I think I was buying the first arc or two in singles before I stopped, and then I got bored of it. But then whenever Forever Evil was coming out, I was like, okay, that looks dope. So I started buying it again. I started reading it again. And then I went back and caught up. And I felt like basically the second arc through Trinity War was very middling in quality. Like, it was just kind of, they were going through the motions and kind of introducing a character here and there. And I was like, okay, whatever. But then once it got to Forever Evil, and also those issues of JLA that Johns wrote that were leading into the Trinity War, those were really good. I thought that was a really good little series. It's like the government-funded Justice League team. But Forever Evil, like you said, Jess, I thought that was a really great little storyline. They did amazing things with the Crime Syndicate characters, the way that they had them interact with the villains of our Earth 1 or whatever, Earth Prime. I don't know what they labeled the New 52 Earth as. And then I think it kind of it turned around into the villains saving the day, and that's when we saw Luthor and Captain Cold join the League for, Luthor is still part of the League.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Is he? I can't remember.
I don't think he's part of the League. I think he's just still acting as a hero.
He is acting as a hero in Superman.
He still has that. Yeah, he still has that Superman armor, or he did.
Yeah,
it's like he just repainted the green and purple Luthor armor.
Yeah,
you know how much
it hurts?
It
was great.
It hurts not to be able to recommend Justice League Rebirth to anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's so bad. Man. I don't think.
I know.
The book itself has no redeeming quality. Maybe Brian Hitch's art, or Tony Daniel's art, but that's about it.
Well, at least Chris Priest is coming on now.
Yeah, it took him forever too. They're up to what? How many issues did he write? Almost 30? Or
yeah, it's like probably. No, it's. I think he wrote 30 or 31, because issues 32 and 33 are tie-ins for the whole Metal event.
Well, that shows you how important critics are, because critics kept me away from that book. I would have bought that book until critics all told me it was a terrible book. So, just wanted to put a plug in there for reviewers.
And none of us are even getting paid. None of us are getting paid to tell you not to read that either.
Right.
I'm just trying to save you from wasting your time.
I think did we talk about that on Monday, or was it last time? Because we all had heard that apparently it got a lot better towards the issues 20, whatever last 6 issues he's doing, they're a lot better.
That's what I heard.
We talked about that last week because I remember having that discussion.
And
I think it was because we're talking about Hitch's artwork in relation to Bendis books.
That's what it was, yeah. And but I still have to read 30 fucking issues before I get to the good part, man. That's asking a lot.
That is.
Yeah.
But
it was painful. I read like a dozen issues and I was like, oh my god, I'm so done with this. I just stopped.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the worst thing I've read, but it was probably my least favorite DC Rebirth title. Also, wasn't a big fan of Suicide Squad either, but
I like JLA versus Suicide Squad, or Justice League versus Suicide Squad, which is I liked that book.
Yeah,
Suicide Squad was apparently not good. Justice League was not good, but Justice League versus Suicide Squad, I thought that was a decent book. As far as Rebirth goes,
I haven't read that one either. I read the first, like the one shots that led into JLA, but by the time I got to the last one shot, I was like, yeah, I don't really care about these characters.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about books that we do care about. I know you want to talk about Morrison's run, right? How is this like this is a crime. How is this not collected in omnibus format?
Yeah. I mean,
like they've
obviously
been releasing,
you don't have it, but
hardcover. Like there's hardcovers, and then they've re-released these in like ultimate style collections. Mm-hmm. And I refuse to buy them because I still have the original shitty trades, because I know one day, as soon as I buy those hardcovers, they're gonna announce the damn omnibus.
That's why you should make the sacrifice for the rest of us.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it, but obviously I've been thinking about it for years, so I haven't bit yet. Because I think I love Morrison's run. I think
it was such a big, just a blockbuster run, because this was coming like after all the JLI Wahaha, where all of the big guns were gone.
Yeah, I think like Metamorpho was left. I can't remember exactly who was left in the Justice League. And it was, after Superman had died. But to me, the thing that stood out about Morrison's Justice League is that he was able to take the characters that have turned, into like Lightning Batman, One Hand Aquaman. Mm-hmm. And he was always able to write a story with them, like a good story. Like, I remember when, during his run, Flash, out of nowhere, stopped being Wally West, right? He was replaced by Future Flash. But it didn't stop the story from being bad. Like, it was still a solid story. I thought that was really cool that Morrison was able to do that. And, we always relate shitty comics to the 90s, but these were coming out in the mid-90s, and there were really good stories in there.
I know what you're talking about, because, reading through it, there were so many points where there was huge narratives going on in the DC universe at the time, and you'd see, like you said, Electric Superman, like Superman Blue and Superman Red, all of a sudden he doesn't make any deal out of it. It's just boom. So you're like, okay, well, something must have happened in Superman's book, and Morrison's just having to go with it. But it was cool because he didn't skip a beat. He didn't get distracted by whatever editorial was making him do. He was just like, all right, cool, I'm telling my story.
Yeah, he's like, fuck it. Superman is now electricity? Whatever. He's still Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
But what I also really liked was, so he had the headliners. Like, he has basically the team that's in the movie, but with, Martian Manhunter, and I think, was Hawkman on team too or something?
Hawkman was on team for a while, and then he had Kyle. Kyle was the Green Lantern.
Yeah, he had Kyle instead of Hal, because Hal was still Spectre at the time, I believe.
Yeah, he was dead, or then he became Spectre. So
it was Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Flash, and Martian Manhunter.
And then he had his own little character, the Angel dude, Zuriel,
and
whatever it was.
That's what I was gonna say. He starts adding in all these other characters that are like B-listers and C-listers, or original characters, like Aztec and Zuriel and Hera, or not Hera, Hippolyta, right?
Yeah,
who took place with Diana for a while.
Because she took place with Diana within John Byrne's run of Wonder Woman. So once again, it was editorial mandate.
Yeah, and he didn't even skip a beat. It's just like, okay, well, here's Wonder Woman, but it's not the same Wonder Woman that we've had, but story's still going to go on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he even got to tell a story with Dream, with Daniel from Sandman.
Yeah, and he had to get permission from Neil Gaiman to do that. I think anytime somebody uses Sandman, they have to use permission, like get his permission to use it. But I loved it. Like his whole run was so good. It was so fresh. And it was a lot of fun, right? Because it was a lot different than the stories that came before it. I think this is the one I really love. World War III. That's my favorite one. I think most people would probably recommend Rock of Ages, or the very first one, Justice for All, or I'm sorry, New World Order. That's the first one. Justice for All. That's the one with the white Martian manhunters, isn't it? That was an awesome story too.
Did he create the other Martians?
I'm not sure. That was the first time I've ever seen it used in a.
Same. That was the first time I remember seeing the white Martians, and I mean, we could be wrong, but either way, he told a really damn good story with them that really made me more intrigued about Martian Manhunter and the related.
I just remember. Do you remember what happened to Triumph? Like the character.
Triumph, the insult comic dog.
No, that guy's awesome too. Triumph, the shitty Justice League, or like there was a story where he froze him and then left him, like, because he was going bad and like tried to take over the Justice League, and he froze him and made him into a statue, and they left him in the Justice League Watchtower. And then during one of the story arcs, the Justice League Watchtower gets destroyed, and Morrison was like, "Oh shit, I forgot Triumph was in there. Ah, fuck it, he's dead." I was like, "Damn, that's some cold shit, Morrison." Like you forgot the character was in there. So you're like, "Ah, he's dead. Whatever." But you know what, though, man? As much as I like Morrison, and this is kind of a spoiler for the episode that I'm doing on my show, but this is my favorite Justice League story ever.
I still haven't read that one, man.
What? Oh, fuck, dude.
I know.
Doing now, bud? Have you read this, Jess?
I haven't, but I haven't read it.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm probably hyping it up, and when you guys read it, you're like, man, what the fuck's he talking about?
No, I heard it was great.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
And this isn't a big shocker because I think this is on everybody's top of the list, at least top 3. This is Mark Waid right after Morrison. This is right after World War III. And going into this was just so badass from the beginning. Like, Ra's al Ghul digs fucking Batman's parents from the grave. Like, he digs them up, takes their bones, and, so Batman's after him. He's like, why'd you dig my parents up? That's messed up. But it was just, all roused to get, to take out the Justice League. And he's taking out the Justice League, like, just using Batman's data, right? Like how Batman would have taken down Superman, how he would have taken down Wonder Woman. So he's using his data against his own team, and he takes them all down. So it's like this tale of betrayal, but it's just so badass and dark. I loved it. They also made an animated movie of it. It's called Doom. It was written by the late Dwayne McDuffie. But instead of using Ra's al Ghul, they used Vandal Savage. And I think some of the lineup of the Justice League was a little bit different too. But man, this is definitely this is my favorite Justice League story. And the actual trade paperback ends in an awesome cliffhanger that leads to the next Mark Waid storyline. But yeah, just because Morrison left JLA didn't mean the story stopped rocking. I love that because after Waid, it was Joe Kelly. And Joe Kelly wrote The Obsidian Age. Did you ever read that?
I didn't read anything after Morrison's run. Because back when I got the hardcovers,
they only did
Tower of Babel. They only did Morrison's run, and then Tower of Babel was out of print, and I couldn't get it. And then the next time that it got put back into print was when they did those like ultimate paperback style ones that you were talking about. But they tacked it on at the end of Morrison's run.
Right.
Instead of like making up, the next volume start with the beginning of Wade's, they just tacked it on, and I was like, well, shit, I don't want to double dip and have that on my shelf like twice. So I wound up never buying it, and now I'm upset because I want to read all of the following JLA stuff after Morrison, but I would have to actually put down a decent amount of money to buy all those trades.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing a custom bind of them, but I'm like, man, I know there's got to be a demand for at least everything else he's done is in omnibus format. There's got to be a demand for his JLA. And Waid has enough material for or at least a big hardcover, and so does Joe Kelly. and then Kurt Busiek, and then Chris Claremont, and then Chuck Austin.
Yeah. Everybody's favorite writer.
What was it? He wrote a story called his collection was Pain of the Gods. Remember that was one of the reviews I wrote, was like, this story was more of a pain in my ass than Pain of the Gods. Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. Yeah, I don't know why JLA hasn't had an omnibus yet, like a legitimately good omnibus. And so I'm really surprised that they went with Justice League International as their first modern age omnibus for the Justice League.
Maybe
it's a weird choice.
It might be because of that fact that we were saying it hasn't been collected before in like any format. I mean, that chunk, the first omnibus has in paperback, but after that, it's like there's nothing. But at the same time, I know what you mean. Like, it's Morrison, number one, huge name. Number two, he's got all the big heavy hitters on the team. Number three, it's a very praised run. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But this is one of those times where I'm like, I really hope that this is why I hope that these movies do well. Because if the Justice League movie does do well and we see a lot of more Justice League stuff out there, I feel like a lot of going to entice DC and their staff to start releasing these other omnis of the Justice League.
Yeah, I would be so happy. That is the one good thing. Like, when these movies come out, it's kind of a win for everybody that collects comic books, at least in the collected format, right? You know there's an omnibus coming. You know there is a hardcover. At least that's always been the formula. Then anytime a Marvel or DC comic comes, they usually tie an omnibus or a big hardcover and a bunch of trades with it that you hadn't seen printed before. So I'm excited about that. That's a good thing about the movies and the TV shows as well, like with Punisher and things, even though that keeps getting delayed.
That's out this weekend too, right?
I think so. I really haven't kept up.
I think it starts tomorrow morning or tonight, late tonight.
Really? Tonight?
I think I saw that in the chat that said something that somebody said it was coming on tonight at 11 p.m. and then somebody else said at 3 a.m. their time or something. So it may be tonight that it's coming out. I don't know. One of the guys in the chat that knows about it can speak up when Punisher's getting released by Netflix.
Nice.
So is there, Jess, do you have another Justice League series, or you want to talk about?
I do. I have several, but I don't know if I can talk about them all. I'll talk about this one because it is next to Irredeemable. It is my favorite book. I had it in singles, trade paperbacks, and then I got it in absolute form.
Look at you triple dipping.
I triple dip totally because I love absolute justice. I love Justice, the story written by Kruger with art by Ross. I mean, first of all, anybody and everybody loves well, I guess I can't say everybody loves Alex Ross art, but I love Alex Ross art.
Well,
so
now is that Alex Ross art and then Doug, what's his name, painted on top of it? Is that what it is? Doug, it's the same guys that worked on
Braithwaite.
Yeah.
Doug
same
Braithwaite.
guys that worked on Earth X and Planet X and all that stuff.
Exactly.
So I thought that was pretty unique. How it looks different though than his stuff on Kingdom Come.
Yeah, than Kingdom Come. It's still great.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's one of the books I also recommend. It's an awesome story.
Right. I love Justice and I read it once every 6 months because I have such a bad memory and I read so much stuff that I always forget what happens in Justice. I'm always taken by surprise by the big twist in it. And there's a really in this book, the villains are portraying themselves as the heroes, and Earth starts to worship the villains, and the villains have come up with like a panacea for hunger and war and everything. And at first, the heroes don't know what to make of it. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't read this yet. I can't really get into too much of the story because it'll spoil it. But it is such a good whodunit and type of puzzle twist right in the middle that I never see coming, and I always forget about it, which is why I read it every 6 months. It's like a brand new story to me. But there's such an aha moment in it, and it's got so many great characters, from the Phantom Stranger to Supergirl to Bizarro to the Parasite. Besides Superman and Batman and Riddler, I mean, it's just got a who's who of everybody with this really great artwork, and I just thought the book was really well written, and I can't say enough about. I mean, you don't have to get the absolute form; you can get it in paperback or singles if you want. It doesn't have to be. I think everything reads better in collected format, but this book just had so many characters in it, but they were all fleshed out really well. And it's not just Superman book. It's not just a Batman book. Everybody's involved in it, in a different weird way. Like even it highlights the Riddler more than it does the Joker. The Joker's not even in it, hardly. And the only beef I have with it is, of course, I don't think Plastic Man should be in the Justice League, because I grew up with him as a goofy character from, I don't know, Fawcett Publications or whatever, the 40s, whenever he was created. He was a great separate character on his own. And I hate the fact that DC bought him and brought him into the Justice League. I just don't think he fits.
You know who disagrees with you? Grant Morrison.
Well,
dude, that story where they're like, we got to get Plastic Man back. Remember, because he lost his memory, so he was living like an average life. Oh, I love that story, man. That was awesome.
But
was
didn't
that
Morrison
in JLA? That was in Morrison's JLA.
Yeah, it was like somewhere in his run.
Well, I
like
haven't read that.
They were like, Plastic Man, like I guess he wanted to live a normal life. I can't remember exactly what happened, but he kind of lost his memory and he was just living with his wife and stuff. And then there was a storyline that they were like, oh shit, we need Plastic Man back. He's the only one that can get us out of this bind. I can't remember what it was. So they go and get him, and he makes a sacrifice to come back. Like he left his normal life and he became a hero again.
Well, then I bow to Grant Morrison. I'm glad Plastic Man's in the Justice League.
Didn't Morrison have both Plastic Man and Elongated Man
in one story arc? Yeah.
Yeah, they're both in Absolute Justice too.
Do you need both of them?
Yeah, that's a good question. Do you need both Elongated Man and Plastic Man?
Is there any difference between their powers at all? Like, y'all have probably read more of each of them than I have.
Well,
I always thought.
Elongated.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, when Elongated Man first came out, he used to wear a mask, and he had a mask first when he debuted in the back pages of Silver Age Flash. And then he was the first superhero to reveal his secret identity. But he was such a C-list celebrity that nobody cared about his secret identity. So there were no repercussions until later. Not in the Silver Age, anyway.
That scene from the Justice League cartoon where Lex Luthor takes over the Flash's body or whatever. And he's like, now I can finally see the Flash's secret identity. And he pulls his mask back and he's like, I have no idea who this is.
So speaking of the Justice League cartoon, I love that cartoon, and one of the head writers was Dwayne McDuffie. Mm-hmm. And Dwayne McDuffie had a run on Justice League right after Brad Meltzer left. And his first book, The Unjustice League, is one of my favorite Justice League stories too. I love this book right here. This is probably my second highest recommended book, Justice League. It's very similar to Justice in the sense like where the bad guys kind of get together and they all team up to whoop the shit out of the good guys. But it works because it's an awesome story. Your boy Joe Benitez did some of the artwork.
Ooh.
Ed Benes did a lot of it. Mike McCone. So I really love this storyline. I was like, oh man, and Hall of Doom from Super Friends, man. There's a lot of nostalgia in this. I really enjoy it. And you know, he made Black Lightning and Firestorm complete badasses. I think he did an amazing job. And then it kind of his runs started like, you know, dwindling down. Like there was a crossover with the Milestone universe. You guys remember the Milestone universe?
Sort of, yeah. I remember.
It was like
existed.
African American characters, like Static Shock, and then there was also like a Superman character, Hardwire. Was that his name? Hardwire, maybe.
Isn't that
But
also where what's his name? That zombie character came from with the XOMBI.
yes.
What book was the? What was the name of that book you just had? Injustice for All, Omar.
This is the Injustice League. This is after Meltzer's run.
Injustice League. Ah, okay.
And now Meltzer's run, you know, like the Tornado Path, those were pretty good too. But I mean, I love the way that this begins. Did you guys read Meltzer's run?
I read Meltzer's run back when it came out in floppies.
Okay.
I've only read Identity Crisis.
So in issue 0, the heroes, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are sitting around like discussing, oh, let's see who's going to be the next Justice League member. Like they're throwing around photos of the characters. Well, McDuffie does that with Luthor, Joker, and Cheetah. They're sitting around like saying, hey, who can join us in this Injustice League? And I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. It's an awesome throwback to that issue 0.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, that one's really good. I really, really, really like that storyline. And like I said, Meltzer's run was it was okay at best, but I really like that crossover with the JSA with Jeff Johns Justice Society. Brought back Wally West with what was it, Lightning something, I can't remember. And the crossover with the Legion of Superheroes as well. That crossover was awesome.
Another book that I love is New Frontier, Darwin Cook.
Yeah.
I saw the first of all, it's full of Darwin Cook-ness for the art. So it's got great art, and it's a story set in the 50s. And I love the part where Batman, of course, suspicious of everybody, goes up to Martian Manhunter and says, basically, I've got my eye on you, and I know I can take you out with a match. And so I just love that part. And it's also one of the few animated movies that I've watched that I loved. I haven't watched a lot of animated movies, but I love New Frontier, the animated movie, that I believe Darwin Cook had a lot to do with too. But this book is just a classic. Plus the deluxe edition has about 8 million pages of extras in it. It has like extra stories.
Yeah, it has more than the Absolute. I was a little ticked about that.
Yeah, that's something I double dipped on. I have it in Absolute and Deluxe, and I know right where they both are, so I don't have to look for them. I know right. I didn't lose them in my library. But I just think this is one of Darwin Cook's greatest books. I just loved the whole thing, as far as just a great story with great art, and really has tons of great characters in it, which look great the way Darwin Cook draws them. Great color palette. Here's a pretty cool shot of Superman and Batman.
Dave Stewart
and Robin.
Knocked it out of the park with his colors on that.
Right. And it was a really cool 1950s color palette. It's just, I can't say enough about this book, and what a loss it was to lose him at such a young age. He was such a great creator. So this is a book I totally love. And now that I'm looking at Justice and New Frontier, it reminds me that I want to reread them again. So I was going to do a couple of videos this weekend, but I think I'm going to postpone them because I'm going to read these books again. They're so good.
New Frontier is also one of the ones that I was recommending. And it was a book that I did not want to read because, remember, I don't like Silver or Golden Age.
Right.
And I thought that's what they were channeling. I had no idea. And then I found out Darwin Cook was the guy that was doing it. And I loved his run on Catwoman. That's how I found out Brubaker's Catwoman.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I like that. And I know he used to work on Batman the Animated Series. I'll give it a shot. And dude, I loved it. I think I read that in it. I had the absolute, like a friend of mine bought it for me for my birthday, and I read it like in one sitting. I could not stop reading it from that very first story that ended in like pretty cool cliffhanger.
You're right.
All the way to the end because I wanted to know how it tied into the beginning of the Justice League. I thought it was really cool that he used Golden Age characters and started mingling them with Silver Age characters and then put them all together during like the Cold War. I love that book. And it is probably the most unique Justice League book that I could recommend.
Yeah. Yeah, he takes them and makes them all his own. And makes it so that they're just, nobody does like old style stuff like Darwin Cook can. I mean, he nails the old cars, he nails the era. And he was such a young guy, he didn't even live through that era, but you'd think that he did. Yeah, the way he and the way he highlights Wonder Woman in this book is great. I just think the whole thing, it introduces so many characters, but they all work together so well, similar to Justice, where there's so many moving parts, but they're all fleshed out and they all work together.
Yeah, I still need to read that one. I've been putting that one off for a long time.
Both of you guys need to read Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
Get Tower of Babel.
I think I better read it tonight. I know I have the JLA paperbacks just so I can have that story.
You will rethink your list of best Justice League stories after reading Tower of Babel.
Okay. I was going to do a Justice League video this weekend, so I better read that so I can, and I'll give you props for highlighting it.
You're welcome. Yeah, I was doing a video and I'm like, should I even mention Justice League Rebirth? Fuck it. Like, I can't even bring myself to like talk about it. It's so bad.
I've got one a series that I really like that's kind of out of left field. That was really just one of the first times I think the DC was just using the Justice League name on something because they A, didn't know what to call it, and B, wanted to make money off of it. And that was Justice League Dark.
Oh, yeah.
52.
That's Lemire, right?
So, yeah. So Milligan started the series and wrote 6 issues. And it was such a cool concept that just fell 100% flat. And I was like, come on, man. Like, this is such a good idea, and you just completely dropped it. But then issue 7, Lemire comes in, and holy shit, like, he just makes this work. Like, his plotting and his dialogue just made this team work. And honestly, it's been so long that since I've read this that I couldn't 100% tell you exactly what was going on in this arc, but the characters worked so well that I was pretty pissed that Lemire didn't become the ongoing writer of Constantine. After this, but just to have these characters, like on the cover, you see Dead Man Zatanna and John Constantine. Then you have a couple, Black Orchid, and this was, I forget his name, but the guy from I, Vampire.
Oh.
Yeah, he was from the I, Vampire series, which was another random book that was in DC's DC New 52, their dark line of books. Where they kind of brought back a bunch of characters like Swamp Thing and Animal Man, and they brought back random stuff like I, Vampire. Mikhail Fialkov wrote for a while, and I guess, like, I love that series. It's probably one of my top 10. It's definitely my top 10 of New 52 stuff, and they took the main character from there and threw him in here, and I was like, oh shit, that's really cool. I don't have the rest of this run in collections and stuff, but it was so cool. And they even throw in, like, I think later Swamp Thing appears, and they have Frankenstein pops up in here, which was another book that Lemire had been writing during the New 52.
I'm so glad that guy's still around, too. I love Frankenstein.
Yeah, he's still popping up here and there. It was such a cool freaking... They had Madame Xanadu was in here.
Oh, yeah.
Just so many random characters appearing out of left field that they pulled in this book, and they were using concepts like the houses of mystery and secrets.
Yeah,
and like dealing with.
Oh, that's right. Cain and Abel show up, don't they? within the.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all these things that you would see in like the early Vertigo books, the Vertigo books that were like still DC oriented, back like the beginning of Sandman, those Lemire was really pulling all those concepts in. And the most unfortunate part about the series was the fact that Lemire left it like after maybe less than 20 issues or something. And it was okay under Ray Fox was the next writer, but it just never hit those highs that Lemire hit. And I was always, I missed him on that book because the next Justice League he wrote was United, which just was him trying to make a Justice League Canada book, basically.
Oh.
That I will say, in my experience, that was the only decent John Constantine that's been written recently was in Justice League Dark, because I didn't like Constantine particularly, and I don't dig Hellblazer Rebirth. I was really excited that they gave it the name Hellblazer again, and man, is that thing? Character. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. His whole run of Hellblazer from issue 1 to 300 was so great. I mean, even I happen to be one of the few that like the Jamie Delano run. I know a lot of people don't, but I did.
I was gonna say it had its ups and downs.
Yeah, I know, but overall I love the whole thing, and it's like they've lost their way with that character. He's such an interesting character, and it seems like they're more interested in his I don't know, his personal life quirks rather than him conjuring up demons and stuff to solve the problem, or how he messes with hell or something. I don't know. I am really disappointed. The Justice League Dark was like the last decent Constantine writing, and it was probably only Lemire's portrayal of him. But I mean, and they introduced his love affair with Zatanna in there, which I was unaware of, but they apparently had a past history, or they had a current history. I can't remember, but it came out of the blue for me, and I thought that was a great little twist in that book.
Yeah, I know the New 52 Constantine run was just so boring, and I dropped it after a few issues because I didn't feel like it was really going anywhere that meant anything. And then I think it was called John Constantine the Hellblazer. That one I enjoyed. It was like Riley Rossmo was on artwork, and a few other creators. I think like Ming Doyle was on there. I don't remember who else, but that run was really good because it had a lot more. It had some of the personal life things, but it had a lot of the Constantine doing what Constantine does, and like fucking around with demons. And a demon comes out and is like, I'm gonna basically just fuck up everything that you love. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna let you do that. And he fights against him. But then the current run, I've been reading it, and honestly, I can't tell you jack shit about what's been going on in it, because every time I read it, I'm basically just going through the motions, and I'm like, when is this gonna get good? When are we gonna get a good Constantine? And like, now Tim Seeley's writing it, and even with Tim Seeley writing it, it's still like, and I feel like he's using his knowledge of past characters from Constantine's books. Like, I don't remember all of them I feel like he uses Chaz or something in there. I think he's trying to use that to get people's interest, but it's like, no, write a good story first.
Yeah, I'm not digging it at all.
I have to say I haven't read Constantine or Hellblazer since he became a part of the DC universe. I like the Vertigo Hellblazer books.
Yeah,
they were a lot of, like I said, it had its ups and downs, but I miss that rugged, schmarmy John Constantine, the guy that would try to bang lesbians and smoke cigarettes. I don't know. It's just a lot different now than than what it used to be. But
I've read pretty much from the beginning through the Garth Ennis run, and that shit was just so good.
The Garth Ennis run was so awesome.
Oh my god! And I too, I like the Jamie Delano stuff because it's like it deals a lot more with that supernatural stuff. I mean, not that our Ennis's doesn't, but it goes into it in a different way that I really really liked it. And then I haven't read anything after that, but just comparing that, like what most people would consider like the heyday of Constantine to the stuff that's coming out now is just, it's not even close.
Yeah,
Not even close at
the
all.
Welsh bastard Ryan Sayce said he has read all of Rebirth, and he said he thinks the problem is that it's American writers trying to act British.
That's exactly what it is. 100%.
Hey, but
Yeah.
sometimes that works, right?
Well, it's not working this time.
Sometimes those Jason Aaron, right? Like he's a guy that kind of writes in a British kind of style, but seems to work.
I think that, speaking of Jason Aaron, I think he was like one of the only non-Brits, like one of the only Westerners that wrote the original Hellblazer series. He wrote for 2 issues.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah. And it was a really good story too. It was like during John Constantine's like young adulthood or late teenage years, and it was like him in a punk rock band in the UK.
Oh yeah.
And I think there was a lot of drugs involved.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, really good. Like I really liked that short little 2-issue story. But I think, like I said, I think he was the only writer on the book that was Western. No, I'm wrong. Azzarello was on there for a little bit.
Who?
Fuck me.
Did you say Brian Azzarello?
Yeah, Brian Azzarello was on there for a bit, so I guess I'm wrong. I'm going on and making like
Jenkins.
this whole point of it, and then I'm like, ah, shit. Jenkins isn't British?
Thought he was Australian. I don't know where he's from. I didn't think he was British. Australian, British, whatever.
Australians used to be British.
He's British, it says on the... Unless Wikipedia is lying to me, Paul Jenkins is British.
Okay, I believe you.
Wikipedia.
I thought he was Australian for some reason. I've actually met him a couple times, so... Yeah, well, good for him. That's awesome.
Good for him, he's British.
And that helps out when you're writing comic books, apparently.
Well, when you're writing about British characters, I think it helps.
Oh yeah, and it's not just John Constantine being a British character, but his surroundings, like him being in the UK, and these writers knowing about the environment and knowing the surroundings and knowing all the things that he's going to see and going to do.
And the slang
helps so much. Yeah, the slang and not just Constantine speaking in British slang, but every other character around him, his friends, the randos that he meets, even the demons and shit.
Yeah.
And now we're just talking about Constantine instead of Justice League.
Somebody brought up JLA too, and I really liked that one too. That was an awesome story. That was
Grant Morrison?
Morrison Quietly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That was cool.
I thought it was a good story. I like how he brought the... Well, I mean, that was the early appearance of the Crime Syndicate, right? The very first earliest appearance that were, you know, and then later on used those characters.
In the modern era, yeah.
Yeah, modern era.
Silver Age is when they introduced them.
Right.
But this is like the version of it that you see in the New 52 stuff in Forever Evil.
Yeah,
right.
Those
right,
characters.
Exactly.
Oh man,
he did a lot of like he did something really cool with the Flash analog. Speed Demon, was that his name? Like, didn't he have him? He was like constantly on drugs or something, and that's what gave him his powers.
This is in Earth 2?
Yeah, am I mistaken?
I haven't read it for a while, but I did read it. I do own it, and I did read it. I know one of the few books I can say that.
Yeah,
about.
I can't remember what he did with that character.
Where's that book?
It was
I
not
know
Speed
it's
Demon.
somewhere up here.
Speed Demon was the amalgam of the Flash and Ghost Rider. I'm trying to see who the hell.
Oh yeah. That's
Johnny
right.
Quick. Johnny Quick was his name, and
So many speedsters,
God.
man.
yeah, there's too many speedsters. But I swear to God, like Morrison had something where he was like on drugs, and that's what gave him his powers. And I thought that was fucking hilarious.
Huh. I don't remember that. I haven't read it in a long time. I just remember really enjoying it because it was just, I think it was a one shot, wasn't it? I don't think it was like 3 issues.
Yeah.
No, it's just a one shot.
Yeah. I thought
It was like a premiere format.
Premiere format, yeah.
And then they recently released the deluxe hardcover of it.
Mhm.
So I ended up finding that like at a flea market pretty cheap. Something like that.
Yeah, I found it. He, instead of having the Speed Force, he injected himself with speed juice.
Speed juice. Nice.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to have right after this show.
Some speed juice.
Keep me up all night to make videos. Some speed juice.
God, it's just some typical Morrison fuckery. But I thought it was so good.
Yeah. There's a lot of good Justice League stories out there, man. Like I said, Joe Kelly's, I really loved his Obsidian Age. Like I said, I made a video my recommendations, and just like everybody else, everybody has their recommendations. I'd be surprised to see Justice League by Brian Hitch on anybody's list, though.
Yeah,
I have. That's something that one of those few books that I've heard not a single person say a single good thing about. It is like unanimously disliked, which is rare.
it's unfortunate because I saw someone one time mention, like, they were like, I think people just don't like it because they're expecting something, like they're expecting Justice League to be great. I'm like, well, yeah, because it's supposed to be the premiere book.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
got
am expecting it to be
flagship title. It has
Exactly.
to be good.
Especially right now, like when there's a Justice League movie that's coming out tonight, and your Justice League book for the past year has been shit. That's shameful. Like, come on.
I just can't believe it took him a long time to realize, hey, these stories aren't great. Maybe we should get somebody that's written books before writing it.
Yeah, that's a pretty big
I think
book.
I think it's really cool when people take gambles with artists, right? Like I think it's cool. I ended up liking Tony Daniels' Detective Comics,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a book that a lot of people is hit or miss. I did not like David Finch's Batman Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
But I still enjoy his art. So I think it's really cool when publishers take gambles with artists. I don't know what, when you're rehauling a universe, you figure you get some big names on a book that people will follow.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brian Hitch wasn't one of those names that most people would be like, oh, Brian Hitch is writing that. Yeah.
Especially
let's
a flagship title like Justice League.
Right.
Try them out on something smaller, like Blue
Right,
Beetle.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, they gave him a test run, because in the end of the New 52, he was writing Justice League America for like 10 issues, and that wasn't well received. It was like middling in quality. And then they were like, okay, well, the New 52 is ending. Let's see who's going to write Justice League. Oh, it's Brian Hitch. And it was
maybe he
like
had a contract or something. I don't know.
I don't know, maybe, but the dumb part is, I think I felt part of that too. I was like, well, it's Brian Hitch again, but Tony Daniels on the art, so maybe if he's not drawing and writing it, maybe he'll be able to write it better. And that's why I started checking it out, and I read like a dozen issues, which is almost half of his run, and I was like, no, it's still bullshit.
Yeah, it's pretty awful. So I'm hoping Christopher Priest, right? He's the next writer. So I'm hoping.
Yep.
I haven't seen his stuff in a while, so it's good to see him back in the comic books.
It's at least will be interesting, if anything. He writes very interesting. Like when I read Chris Priest's comics, it often gives me the same feeling that a lot of Quentin Tarantino's movies do. Like,
yeah, I agree with that. I like that. That's the way I've been felt.
Narrative structure.
His Black Panther was like that, and He did that. He did that run on was it Deadpool?
He did write Deadpool for a little while.
Yeah, right before Frank Terry did, and I thought his Deadpool was a lot different than Kelly's Deadpool, but I like the direction that he took it.
And right now he's writing a miniseries for the Inhumans.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, with Phil Noto as the artist.
I like Phil Noto.
I love Phil Noto.
Yeah.
It's I think it's got like 1 or 2 issues left, so the trade should be coming out soon. It's been really good. It's kind of a tale of when Maximus and Black Bolt are younger and still kind of coming into it, so you get to meet the young versions of all the Inhumans. It's called the Inhumans Once and Future Kings. But I'm gonna say we'll probably wrap this up. My computer's about to die, and I think my wife needs me to help with Christmas decorations because apparently halfway through November is the right time to put up Christmas decorations. I got upset and I was like, "Hey, we haven't even decorated for Thanksgiving." She's like, "There are no Thanksgiving decorations."
I heard
there
that.
is no Thanksgiving music. Yeah, Jess was on there and he heard her say that. I was like, "Well, I made hand turkeys at my office, so I mean, you could at least try." Like I tried. But yeah, so I'm gonna go do that. But you guys who are going to go see Justice League tonight and this weekend, I do sincerely hope that y'all enjoy the movie. I hope the best for that film. I'll probably not be seeing it for another several months. But before we sign off, of course, thank you guys for joining us. Let us know where that we can find y'all. Jess, if you want to.
You can find me, Jess, at OmniDog's Vault on YouTube. That is my channel, OmniDog's Vault. And you can also find me, if you are a member of Facebook, Riley's the Omnibus Collectors, Comic Swap, and Community. I said it right.
That's the one. Yep.
Thank you.
And Omar, where can they find you?
Thanks again, guys, for having me. And you can find me here at Near Mint Condition.
Look at that poster.
That's a pretty sick poster, I'm going to say.
That is awesome.
Yeah, man. It's amazing what color printers will do. And tape. Yeah, Near Mint Condition is my YouTube channel. And you can also find me on the aforementioned Facebook page. So.
And you can find me here. You can find me on the Facebook page, apparently making sarcastic comments that piss people off. And I'm a bad admin, I think, or something like that. I don't know.
A badmin.
A badmin. I mean, if it's the comments are like a layup. Like you're just setting it up for me, and I'm just pushing it in the basket. Like that's how I look at it. But you can find me there. You can find me here. You can find me somewhere in Texas, wandering the streets and looking for cheap comics. And you'll find me in a couple weeks from now when I'm not in Houston and I can rejoin for the next video. So next week, I guess I'll probably not be on. But thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope that our discussion has been entertaining and informative, and perhaps y'all have either A, found some new books that you want to buy and try, or B, have decided that we have horrible taste in comics. Either way, have a fantastic night and a great weekend. And if I don't see y'all before, have a fantastic Thanksgiving.
Peace and love.
Bye, guys.
Peace and love.
Good night, everybody.